In this video, we are going to focus on many file and folder automation activities in UiPath for beginners. The very first activity we are going to learn is create folder. To get the create folder activity, simply type create folder and click on it. In this one, there are two ways to do things. One is you can select a directory wherever you want. Let's say I want to select the directory and I would like to create a folder in this particular directory called UiPath test1 folder. Okay, this is the folder I want to create called UiPath test1. Click on save. By doing this, you always get to see a warning. The warning is absolute paths not recommended. So you should not provide the absolute path. Absolute path means it has C drive, users, it has couple of locations which UiPath recommends you not to provide. Because this location might change, your automation might be running on a different machine and this location could be different. So what rather it is asking, use a relative path. Now what is a relative path? I'm going to show you. Now for a relative path, I'm going to delete all of this. Delete. And simply here I'm going to write UiPath test1. Now this is a relative path. You see the warning has gone. Now what would happen when you create a UiPath test1? Let's run and see what's going to happen. Okay, so it has executed. If you go to your projects panel and you would be able to see the UiPath test1 has appeared. Let's say I want to create another folder called, let's say test2 for example. Run it. Okay, you see, if you go to the projects panel and refresh it, you can see UiPath test2 folder is got created. If you run it again, what would happen? First, UiPath will see if in that particular location, if a test folder, the same name is already available, it's not going to create it. If you see, it got executed. But if I go back and refresh, you have this same folder. It doesn't do anything if the folder is already present. If the folder is not present, for example, if I right click and delete it and run it again, okay, it got executed. Let's refresh it. You see the test2 folder has been created. Now let's see the location. You can right click on the folder, click on open. You see this is the test2 folder. If I go one step back, see this kind of folders getting created here within your project. So if your project is going to run on a different machine, doesn't matter because your project location is there, it's going to create within that. So this is a relative path. I'm not defining exactly where I want, rather I'm going with a relative path. However, if you need absolute path, it doesn't stop you. You can still go ahead and declare absolute path and run the code. The important part is understanding the property. Now here, for example, let me create a variable, okay? Control plus K, and I'm going to say created folder path. Hit on enter. So I created a variable called created folder path. Let's go to the variable panel. Let me delete the previous created variable. Now if you see, the created folder path is a different variable data type. And the data type is uipath.platform.resource-handling.I local resource. Now with this, let's say I want to see what is the path of the folder where it got created. Let's use a write line. Hit enter. And if you simply use created folder path, okay, it doesn't work. Let's see if you try to make it .toString to avoid the error from the write line and simply run it. So do you think we will get the variable output path? See, it's not printing anything. It's simply printing uipath.core.activities.filesystem location item, but it's not printing the output. So what we can do? So there should be some property of this data type, correct? Let's explore the property. Hit on dot and look for the properties. It has got something called creation date, full name. So the wrench kind of icon that you see, these are the properties. Okay, this is the these are the different functions. So you have icon URI, is folder, is resolved. Okay, and there is something called local path. Do you see? There is something called local path. So this is the property. So if I click on local path and now try to run the code, you will be able to see the actual path got printed this time. Do you see? C drive users and automated with Rakesh activity wise learning UiPath test2 folder got created. So it is actually printing you the entire path when you are using the local path variable. The next activity we are going to learn is create file. To get the create file, simply type create file, hit enter, and here it is asking me the file location. Now what happens with the GenAI abilities, if you see, it automatically detecting the last variable that I have created. The smartness is already there. The variable that I have created is created folder path. Now all I'm doing, if I keep my mouse pointer, you see in gray color it is written created folder path dot full name. All you have to do, simply hit on tab and your code is there. This is pretty nice. Now let's say I want to create a file. Let's create a simple text file. Let's say test1.txt. Let me run this and see what happens. So we are trying to create test1.txt. Let's go to the project, refresh it. You can see test1.txt has been created. Let me open this up. Okay, so you can see the test1.txt is a blank file. Great. Now let's say, let me create a CSV file, CSV file, and let me run the code. Okay. Now you see, if I refresh this, the CSV file got created. Let's try to open this. Okay, you can see a blank CSV file got created. Now the next thing you might think, can I create an Excel file by writing .xlsx? Actually, it is not recommended. To create an Excel file, you have other activities. You have workbook activities, you have Excel activities that you will be using. Now in this one, I'm going to teach you something additional. What is that? Many times while we create a file, we would like to have the current date and timestamp. What is it? The current date and timestamp we want. So how do you write it? For example, imagine this is the file, test1.csv is the file. Let me open it in the editor and slightly expand this. So here what I will do, the .csv, I'll keep it as one part. And from test1 we will, let's remove it. Okay, let's remove everything. Let's say the file name is test1. Now in this one, I would like to use a quote and use an ampersand. And now I'm going to say now dot toString. And in this one, let's write, I want it year format, 2025, let's say, and then dd, and then I want to have underscore hour for minutes for seconds. So this is the format I want to write, and then I'll use an ampersand, and within the double quote, let it be a CSV file. Okay, so this is how your entire code has been written. So here M and H are written in capital. The month and the hour will be capital. Rest will be written in small. Let's save this. Pretty simple. Now let's run the code. Now let's see how the file is getting created with the current year, month, date, hours and minutes. Let's refresh the file. You can see a test1 folder got created. You have 2025, and then you have 0, the month, 02 is the month, February, 22 is the date, and you have hour, you have minutes, you have seconds. So this is how you can create files and providing them a very unique ID with the date, hour, minute, and seconds. It has a very unique ID. This will be pretty helpful when you are creating a file. This technique would be pretty helpful. The next activity we are going to learn is copy folder. For this, click on the plus sign and simply type copy folder. You see this activity, copy folder, hit on enter. Now how this one works? First of all, you have to tell the source folder and the destination folder. Let's create a source folder in our project folder itself. Right click on the project name, add folder, and I'm going to say, let's say daily summary report. So this is my folder name I'm going to create. So if you see, the folder got created. Now let's say I would like to transfer or copy this folder to some other location of the system. So how I do it? Now to do this, let me select the destination. So I would like to save it inside, that's a C drive, documents. Okay. And I would like to give it a name. So I'll keep it in the document section. Okay. I'm going to select cell. So here what is happening? It is only saying until documents. Inside the documents path, you create that folder. So that is the meaning. Let's save it. And here, let us select this particular folder name. What is the folder name I have given? Daily summary report. This you can simply put it within double quotes because this is a relative path. That means it is there within your project directory. Let me run it. Okay, it got created. Let's go to the location and see if this got created or not. What was the name I've given? Daily summary report, right? Let's see. Display C sharp. Okay, I should be in the documents. Documents. Okay, here it is. Okay, so daily summary report got created. The next simple activity, let's learn copy file. To copy file, simply type copy file. Okay, and here let's create a test1.txt. You can simply right click on add and create a file. So I've already created test1. All I have to simply click on this, go to your project daily summary report, and I'm selecting the file wherever the source location of the file is. And destination is pretty again simple. You go to your destination location where you would like to have the file. Currently there are no files. You just have to select the destination where the file should be kept. And simply I'm going to also enable override, save, run it. So it is going to simply, the purpose of this file is activity is to copy a file from a source and keep it in the destination. Now if I go to the destination folder, documents, daily summary report. Okay, this got executed. Let's go to documents and look for daily summary report. Here you can see the test1 file is present. Okay, it's already present. The test1 is already present in the location. The next thing we are going to learn is delete files. Imagine you have a folder daily summary report. In that you have got multiple files. You can see there are multiple files. Now I want to delete all the files which has a very specific extension. Let's say .txt. But it should not delete anything which has a .xlx. Just as a scenario I have created. Now let's see how to do it. Now to do this, you require an activity called for each file. This is a very important and useful activity. Let's use this activity. The very first thing, the folder. You have to select the folder in which you would like to delete it. So let's select the folder. So this is the daily summary report folder. Done. Now here there is something called filter by XLX. So this is an example they have given. So how do you use this example? Let me show you. So for this, all you have to do, you have to use a star. This is important how you are writing it. Star means anything before the extension .txt or .xlx. It could be any extension. Star represents it could be any name. It could be any name. All right. So you have given this and hit on save. and then inside this I am going to use delete file activity, and inside the delete file activity we'll use the current file. Current file is nothing but this one, dot local. You can do a control space, dot control space, and you should say current file. There will be something called local path, or the full name. Okay, you can use the full name property. So this is also, so current file dot full name. Now what would happen? Let's see it. I'm going to run this code. Okay, now let's get back to the folder. You see it has deleted all the files except test1.xlx. Okay, this is one kind. Now let's create the folders again, new the files again, and I'm going to say test1, and I'm going to copy paste several times. Now imagine I want to delete all the txt files, correct, but I should not. So let me rename this to, let's say, test2. Okay, so it should delete all the files which has test1 in them and should be a txt file. So there is another condition here. So there is a txt file which has the different name called test2. I should not delete it. I should only delete files which has the name test1 and it should be a txt file. Now how you do it? Now for this, all you have to do, you have to slightly make a modification to this code. I'm writing the file should have test1 and I'm using a star at the starting, star at the end. So that means what? The file contains test1 and the extension. It could be xlx or anything, but here I have written txt because I want to delete the txt files. Now what would happen if I run this? Let's have a look. Okay, it has executed. Let's go back to the folder. You see it has deleted all my files apart from the test2.txt. And the next question, if I only have to delete the text 1.xlx. Now if you want to delete a very specific file, then go ahead and use the delete file option directly. Okay, so delete file, and here you select the exact file name. If you have the entire file path, you can define it. So here I'll go to documents, daily summary report. Okay, and let's say I exactly know what I have to delete. If you simply run this, okay, it got executed. If you go back, the file is removed. The next thing we are going to learn is download file from a URL. So for that, let's type download file from URL. Now this activity requires a direct link. For example, if I copy paste the link in the browser and hit enter, the file gets downloaded. That kind of a link is required. Now for this, where do you get this link to for practice purpose? Let me show you. Let's go back to Acme system1.dashboard. Okay, acme testuipath.com. If you log in, after you have logged in, you find something here called healthcare. There is something called download daily appointment. Simply click on this link. And here you see there are many XLX files. Do you see? There are many XLX files. Imagine you want to download a specific file or XYZ, only the names are changing. So what I will do, I'll first copy, right click on this, copy the link address. I'll go back to Studio and here let's paste it. So within double quote, you have to paste the link. Now this, you can make it more dynamic. Okay, let's say the file name keep on changing. You can make it more dynamic. So for now I have kept it like this and I'm going to click on save. Now what would happen? This activity has a property called download file. Let's create some variable. Okay, let's say download. I created a variable called downloaded file. Now let's see how this one works. Okay, for example, if I use a write line and simply try to print the download file dot local path, I'll print the entire path. Let's run this. Okay, so what happened here is, you see the entire path has been pointed out here. Now what happened? Where exactly it got downloaded? If you refresh your project panel, it generally gets downloaded within your project folder. Many times you don't want that. You wanted to move it to a certain folder location. So what you do, here I am using, below this I am using move file. And in the move file, I am going to use this particular downloaded file dot local path. Okay, I don't need this right line. In the destination, I can select the folder where I would like to keep. So I like to keep in the daily summary report, which is currently blank. Fine. All right. Now there's a warning. I can ignore that. That is because of the absolute path. And let's remove this particular file. Last time I have downloaded. Now save this and run the code. See, this all processed. If you go to the project folder and try to refresh, you see the file is now not downloaded here. Now let's go to the documents and then daily summary report. Okay, so here if you see, it has got downloaded in the desired location I want. So this can be achieved through the download file from URL activity. So the next activity in our list is browse for file. For this, you need an activity called browse for file. Let's see how this works. This activity would ask you to enter or create a variable. Let's create a variable called selected file path. Hit enter. And this one, let's create again. Selected file path. Selected file path, enter. Okay, so this is the variable I have created and which is a string type. Now how this one works, let me show you. So when you run this, it will prompt you, okay, which file would you like to select for your automation? So you'll see a prompt. You see a dialog box or a prompt has appeared to select a file. Now let's say I'll go to a certain location and I'm going to select a certain file. Let's say Acme extracted work items. I'm going to click on open. So what happens? It gives you the feasibility. Now what got stored in selected file path? Let's see it simply by doing a right line. Okay, so right line, hit enter. And here I'm going to simply use the variable selected file path. Selected file path. Now if I'm going to run it, first thing the browser window should appear. Let me select a particular file. And you see, if I look at the output panel, it tells me the entire path of the file has been captured. So this way, in your workflow, you can use that path for the next set of your actions within the automation. The next activity we are going to learn is compress zip files. Is there a way to compress and zip files? Of course, UiPath has activities for it. All you have to do, simply type compress zip files. This is the activity. Now with this, what kind of a work this activity would do? Generally, if I have to send out an email outside and there are many files, you would like to compress the size of the file because email would have limitations, or for any other purpose. Compressing means reducing the size of the file. Now how to do this activity, how to utilize this activity, let's see it. Compressed file name. First of all, we have to inform what should be the file name and where would you like to keep that compressed file. For example, my files are there inside the documents, but I would like to compress the file and keep it in the downloads. So you have to basically provide where to store the zip file and with what name. Okay, so here let's say I want to store it in the desktop And here I would select this. I'll copy the path. I'll simply open this, and the daily logs is the actual file name. Okay, daily logs. So here I will put something. For example, the zip file, I'll name it compressed daily logs. Okay, so this is basically I'm giving the name of that file. Once it is zipped, it is going to have this name, compressed daily logs. That's it. Okay, and the location I'm saying you get stored in the desktop. You available in the desktop. So like that I'm saying. So I'm going to save it. The content to zip. Would you like to zip multiple files or multiple folders? That you can select? So here I will select a folder. I'll browse this, go to desktop, and there is a folder called daily logs. I'm going to select folder. Let me show you what this folder contains. This is the daily logs, and here I have got some blank text files. I have kept named data as test logs. So this is what it's supposed to compress and show me. So this is the content to zip. Likewise, if I have to compress multiple folders, you can keep on selecting the multiple folders which you would like to compress it. Now once that is done, now next thing is compressed file. So this is the output of this activity. So let's create a variable, and I'm going to say compressed file path. Okay, and if you would like to see the output, and simply say it here, compressed file path. Okay, now okay, this won't work just like that, because I'll tell you compressed file path, right? So this is a file info. So because it's a file info, you have to simply say use the property called file name. You can do a control space. Okay, in case that doesn't come automatically, escape, user dot control space file path dot file name. Okay, it's not working. Let's see what's wrong. Delete compressed file path dot dot full name. Okay, I'm saying file name, so it's full name, and this is how you write it, save it, and run it. So we'll see what's going to happen. Completed. Now if I'm going to go to the desktop, so this was the daily logs, and beside that there is a compressed daily logs. The name I wanted to keep to the zip file, compressed. Now if you right click, extract all, extract. Okay, it created a extracted file, and you can see the files. This is one part. The second part is, if I go back to the output, you see the entire path of that zip where it got created, that also got captured through the variable called compressed file path dot full name. Okay, so this is how you can utilize the compress zip file activity. The next activity we are going to learn is extract or unzip files. Now, does UiPath has an activity to extract or unzip a file? Answer is yes. So let's type unzip file. So if you see, there's an activity called extract unzip file. So first thing, file to extract, you have to definitely provide the location or the file path which supposed to be extracted. So I've selected a zip file. This can dynamically done through a variable. Okay, and the destination folder. Where would you like to keep this? Let's say I want to keep it back in the desktop itself. Okay, so I'll select desktop, and let me create a test folder because it's not showing me the path. Okay, so here inside the test folder, I would like to keep the zipped file. Okay, so I've selected the destination folder, extracted content folder. So this is nothing but if you hit on tab here, simply keep a mouse pointer, hit on tab, the variable is auto created, destination folder info. Now all you have to do, use a write line activity, and in this use the variable just to see what it contains. So this destination folder info is nothing but it's a directory info, okay, the data type. And for this simply use dot full name, the property. That's simple, this activity to be used. Now let me save it, run it and see what happens. Okay, the execution got a green tick mark. Go to Windows Desktop, and here if you see, I created a folder here. Let me go here. Okay, so you see the zip file actually did not uh, create anything. So let's go back. Let's see what went wrong. So I selected desktop. So what I will do, let me give it a name called compressed daily logs. Okay, in the desktop only it's going to create a thing called compressed daily logs, and then this is my zip file, compressed daily logs. Okay, and this is going to be my normal file, extracted file, extract to dedicated folder. Okay, I've selected, that's fine. Let's run it again. Let's go to the desktop. It will delete this particular. Could not find this item. Desktop, verify the item location and try again. I don't know, that something went wrong. It's okay, let's run it again. Okay, execution completed. Let's go to desktop. Now you can see this file got created called compressed daily logs, which works quite well. So it has extracted the file, and inside this I have got all the files. So this worked well. So this is about the compressed, sorry, this is about the extract or unzip file activity that we have learned. The next activity we are going to learn is get file info. Let's try to perform an exercise through this activity. The exercise is quite simple. You have to get file details and display in message box. So what are the details you have to display? Let's say you have given a file path. Retrieve and display the following details in the message box. So you have to display the file name. What is the name of the file? You have to tell me what is the extension of the file. Is it xlx.txt, whatever it is? You have to show me the file size in kilobytes and the creation date, at what date and time the file was created. All right, for this, let's use the activity get file info. Okay, this is a very important activity. Let's use that. And let's point out to a specific file. I have kept a file already on my desktop. Let me point out that particular file. And here let's create a variable, control K, and let's say file info. You can create any kind of a variable you want. Now it's very important once the variable is created to see what kind of a data type it is. It's a file info data type. Good. Now let's see how do you print. So the very first thing, we'll drag and drop a message box. And here, using this variable file info from the previous activity, you have to use a dot. So what is the very first thing we have to do? We have to fetch the name, right? So the property that you have to use is name. Similar way, copy, paste. Next, I need the extension. So for the extension, I will simply say dot extension. There is a property called extension. Now the next thing, I want to pull the size in kilobyte, right? So for that, there's a property called length. See, these are the learnings. These are the different properties you are learning one by one. Cool. Now the next thing is I want the creation date. So dot creation time. Okay, so these are the different properties. Let's run it and see if the values are coming or not. Okay. All right. All right. So the execution has started. Acme extracted workflow work items. This is the file name. If you want to specifically fetch the extension, it tells you .xlsx. Cool. Next is length. 10238 kilobyte is the length. Cool. Next is this was created on 23rd February 2025 at 7:42 a.m. Getting it? So this is how all the required information has been fetched through the get file info activity. The next interesting activity we are going to learn is path exists. For this, we will go through an exercise. Delete a file only if it exists. So for example, check if a file in a certain location, if it exists before deleting it. So if it exists, you delete the file. If it does not exist, then you skip the deletion. So file not found, you can show up a pop-up message box. So how this can be done? Let's see it on the UiPath Studio. For this, the activity we have to search for is path exists. Okay. Now here if you have two options. You can select for a file, you would like to check for a file or a folder. So here we will select for a file for the exercise. Now here if you keep your mouse, you can actually create a variable here. Let me create a variable called control plus K. You can say file path, hit on enter. So this file path, if you go back to the variable panel, this is a string. So that means here you have to pass the path of the file. So let me go. I already have kept a file on my system. I'll hit on shift, right click, copy as path, go back and simply paste it here. So now the file path has got a location on which it will check path exists or not. It will check for that particular file. Great. Now, if you look at the property of this, there is something called exist. Okay, so let's create a, just hit on tab, it will create a variable called file exist. Keep the mouse pointer, hit on tab, it will create. So there are two different variables getting created. File exist, which is a boolean variable, and file resource, which is a iLocal resource, which is going to contain the file information. Great. Now what we have to do, I have to use an if activity. So what we have to do, we have to think if the file exists, then delete. If not, simply show up a message. So what variable we can use here? You can see now the latest UiPath is giving you suggestion which variable is applicable for it. So it's a boolean variable. So file exists. So if file exists, then what I want to do, I want to delete the file. Now to delete the file, you need a variable which contains the file data, which is a iLocal resource. File resource is the variable name. So file resource is the variable name. Okay, so delete file. If not, you would like to show up a message box. And you can say file not found, skipping deletion, something like that. Okay, so once this is done, let's run it. We know this file already there at present. I'm going to run this. Okay, so the execution completed. If I go back to the desktop, you see the file has been removed from my desktop. Pretty good. Now if you run it again, it says file not found, skipping deletion. So now with this, our exercise is complete. The next activity we are going to learn is wait for download. Now, what is this exercise? Let's have a clear look. Download treatment report from Acme Healthcare. Automate the process of navigating to Acme Test Healthcare, hovering over the healthcare menu, clicking on download treatment report and waiting for the file to download. Just to explain you, this is the acmetest.uipath.com site. In this one, there is an option here called healthcare. If you click on healthcare or hover over the healthcare, and there is something called download treatment report. If you click on this download treatment report, what happens? Files of a treatment report gets downloaded. This is what we have to achieve on UiPath. Just to have one more look what is expected in this exercise, you have to open the browser, navigate to Acme Test Healthcare, hover over the healthcare menu, click on download treatment report, use wait for download activity to ensure the file is downloaded before proceeding. So you have to use the wait for download activity. This would be a learning. So let's see on UiPath Studio. To do this exercise, the very first activity I'll be using is use application browser. Now keep the application at the backend and click on indicate the application. Now click on anywhere in the application. Don't reuse. Now what happens? Sometimes the Chrome Acme here, if you see, if it is a browser URL, it will automatically detect itself to browser. Many times, if it is saying application for you, that means your UiPath Chrome extension is not working at the moment. Try to restart your system or else try to uninstall the extension and reinstall the extension. Finally, if it is a browser, it should show you browser. It should not show you application. Okay. Now it has got the captured the entire link. The next thing I would like to do inside this is wait for download activity. I'm going to use wait for download activity. Now inside this wait for download, I'm going to mention the action that I have to take. For example, I have to take the very first action is hover. Hover. Now why hover? Because this one, if I don't have to click on it. Okay. The moment I keep the mouse, it brings the options. If I keep the mouse, it brings the options. So that's why it is a hover. It is not a click action. Very good. So hover activity I have got. I need to click on indicate and I'm going to simply select the area where it has to hover. So healthcare, I'll provide an anchor. I'm going to click on validate and I'm going to click on confirm. Okay. Object repository, because it's automatically creating the, so leave it. So now I have got the hover healthcare is done. What is my next activity? The next activity is I have to click. So use a click activity. Again, click on indicate. Now look at it. Now the hover options are not coming. In this case, there is an option here called F6. Hoverable element selection. Okay. Hoverable element selection. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to highlight this and then go to healthcare. You see now the options are popping out. Now I go here and select the download treatment report. And then I'll select the target. If any of these are not working properly, that means you have a problem with your Chrome extension. Try to uninstall and reinstall. Validate. Click on confirm. Okay. Now you see it is going to hover, it is going to click on that. Now these two activities are inside the wait for download. So it will wait until the download is complete. Only then it will come out. Getting it? So here let's create a variable. Hopefully there are no variables at the moment. Okay. Let's create a variable control K downloaded file. Hit enter. Okay. Now after this, let me make this to the main sequence, increase the scope to main sequence, go back, and here let's use a write line, and let's try to write where exactly it got downloaded. Dot full name. Simple. Now let's execute this, save the code, go back, and I'm going to close this. Okay, close this and try to, you can directly run it. Okay, instead of debug, let's run it. Okay, so now the Acme site has opened. It went to healthcare. See, it has downloaded and the download report is done. Now, if you go to the output, you see C uses Rakesh downloads treatment report 3 got downloaded. Let me go to the download section and you can see the file got downloaded. Let me delete all of them. There is one file which is open. Let me see the Excel file. Let me close the Excel file. Okay, let me try to delete it. Let's clear everything from the system. Now, once I have cleared everything from the system, let's go back to the studio. And in the studio, let me try to run it again. Okay, this time we will make little more adjustment. So instead of write line, I want to move the file to a desktop location. Now to do this, I'll use the previously learned activity move file. Okay, now in the move file, from where would you like to move? So it is there inside the downloaded file full name tab. Okay, download file full name, it is there in available there. Where would you like to move it to? So I would like to move it to my desktop. So I'll go to desktop, I'll select this folder. Here I would like to move it to. Okay, so once selected, now let's go back to the desktop folder just to see it is completely blank at the moment. Okay, let's go back to the studio, save it and try to run the code. Okay, let's run it. Okay, now the Acme site has opened. Pretty good. The download has happened. Now it's completed, right? You see, it's completed. Let's go back to the desktop, open the file. You see the treatment file has been moved from download to a specific desired folder. So this would be pretty helpful. So with this exercise is complete here. The next activity we are going to learn is rename file. For this, let's carefully read the exercise. Exercise is download and rename healthcare treatment report. In the previous exercise, we have downloaded the file. We have to just rename it. But there are many tricks involved in this. Don't think it's that simple. But yeah, definitely there are many tricks involved. I'm going to show you. Open the Acme Test Healthcare and you download and then rename the downloaded file to having the year, month, date, hour, minute and seconds. Okay. Move the renamed file to the UiPath test folder. After you rename, you have to move it to the test folder. So let's see how this can be done on UiPath Studio. So in the last exercise we have seen, we went to the Acme website, we hovered over the healthcare and then we clicked on the report, the treatment report. This looks pretty much good. And then finally we have stored the data, the downloaded file path in this download file. So this much we know. After this, what I'm going to do, ensure the variable is in the main sequence. And then after this, let's use an assign activity. And in the assign activity, let's create a variable called new file name. Okay, new file name. And we have to write few expressions. This is important. Now you need to understand the nature of your file. So it is a .csv file when you download. And the file name can be found in the downloaded file .full name. We saw it last time. And then here I'll use an ampersand symbol and I'm going to say now.toString. And I'm going to, within the double quote, I'm going to write year, mmdd underscore seconds. Okay. Now after this, the important part is you have to again use the ampersand symbol and within the double quote, you have to write CSV. The extension is also important. Once you have written this, hit on save. So now you got the new file name. Now once you have this, let's use the rename file activity. And here the file which has to be renamed, right? Where is the file which has to be renamed? The file is actually in the downloaded file dot full name. This is the original file. Now you want to rename with the new file name variable. Simple. Once you have renamed, everything is happening in the download folder. It is everything happening in the download folder. Now I would like to move this to a different location. So for that I'll use the move file activity. So the new file name is the new file that you have renamed after rename. So you will simply use this variable new file name, and this is the file name you want to move it to a certain destination. So I'll select the desktop UiPath test folder, select folder. Okay, with that the workflow is complete. Let's run and see whether it's working or not. So first of all, let me see. This is a test folder. Let me delete it. So it's blank now. And in the downloads, let me clear everything. So all clear now. Let's go back to the studio and start running the code. So let's run the code. Okay. So the code started running. acmetestUiPath.com. It went to healthcare, downloaded the report. Okay, it has been renamed and the workflow is complete. Now there are two things to check. I'll go to the download section. There should not be any file. I'll go to the desktop UiPath test folder. You see the file is now renamed with the date and timestamp. So this is one of the important exercise. Practice and let me know in the comment section if it worked for you or not. The previous exercise what we did, there is a glitch. Hope you have already found out the glitch. Let me show you. So if I open this file, you see there is something written called .csv, and then you have the year, month, date and all that .csv. So the file has not been renamed properly. Okay. So how do I fix it? Hope if you have found the solution, please do ping and let me know in the comment section. Because I found a solution, I'm going to show you that. So how do you fix it? After I have downloaded the file, so this is the important variable. What we are going to do is I'm going to use assign activity. Okay, before renaming, before doing anything, first of all, I am going to preserve the directory where the file is currently present. Okay, now to do that, let's create a variable called current directory. Okay, current directory. Let me see, I don't have current, or instead of current directory, let's name it as the downloaded directory. Okay, that will be better. I'll say downloaded directory. This is the variable I have created. Now this variable is a string type. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to write a small query. Okay, so I'm saying path dot get file name without extension. Sorry, I want to get the directory, right? So get directory name dot path dot get directory name. Okay, so this is important, and here I'm going to use the downloaded file variable dot full name. So this full name, if you print and see, this full name would have the entire path of the file, including the file name. So when I say directory, what this will do, it will only print me the directory without the file name. Let me show you. We will run this and show you. Okay. So I'll use a write line before this to show you what happens when you try to print dot full name. What happens when you print dot full name, and what happens when you remove get directory name. When you do, what happens? Let me show you. So write line, and here I am just trying to print the download directory. Let's run this. Okay, let's run it. Okay, the file been downloaded. Fine. Now let's see the output. So the first one is full name. So it has got C drive user Rakesh download treatment report .csv. So when you say only give me the directory name, it gives you only the directory name. C uses Rakesh downloads. Until here it gives you the directory name where the file is currently present. Correct? Now once you have done this, next thing is I'm going to rename the file. Okay, I'm going to rename the file. So the renaming would happen in the same location. So here your file is present where? Currently the file is present in download file dot full name. This is your full path which you would like to rename. Wherever you see the directory service, you are providing the full path. So just now we saw it, right? C drive uses Rakesh download treatment reports.csv. So you are providing the entire path of the file where exactly it is available. And then you are saying, okay, I would like to rename it. So to rename it, remember that .csv was coming in between. Okay, so you need to be careful. So what we will do, we'll simply say path dot get file name without extension. Get file name without extension. And here I'm going to say the download control space downloaded file dot name you can use. So name means it will not have the entire path, it will only give you the last name, the .csv including the name. So what it's going to do without extension, that means it will not have the .csv file. Okay, and then you would like to use the ampersand and you would like to say now dot to string and then you would like to have the year, month, date, underscore, hour, minutes, seconds. This is what you want to have. So what would happen? In the rename, you don't have to provide the extension. Okay, last time we were using extension. You don't literally need to provide an extension to it. Now let's see what this contains. Okay, what happens when you write this code? Let me first show you with a write line. Write line, enter, and here I'm going to enter this particular code. Okay, now what happens by that? I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to disable this activity for the moment. Okay, now let's save it and try to run it. Let's see what output comes. Okay, understanding each output is important. So that's where you go step by step and develop your code. File got downloaded. Okay, fine. Now let's look at the output. The very first one is your downloaded file dot full name. This is your directory and this is your renamed file. See the renamed file here you are simply providing the file name. You're not providing the extension. That is the first point to remember. Okay, you're not providing the extension. So now let me enable the control E. So once you have enabled, so here what you are doing, you don't have to provide the .csv, you are simply renaming it by providing a name and it will preserve the extension automatically. You see there is an option called keep extension. So it will automatically preserve your extension. So your file name is your .csv. Now one thing I did not find is a output parameter for this rename file. That's why we have to do a couple of additional construction of the code. Now let me use another assign activity. And here I'm going to create a file called new file name. Okay, and here the new file name contains this one, the entire code, ampersand double quote dot csv. This is your exact file name. Okay, now I want to move the file, so I'll simply say move file, and on the move file you have to provide the directory. So you remember you have used this downloaded directory which would show you that path, you saw it a few minutes back, right? So download directory means C drive user Rakesh downloads. It provides you the current existing path. So what I will do in the move file, I would use this downloaded directory and then I'll use a ampersand, and within double quote I'm going to use this backward slash, and then with another ampersand I'm going to use the new file name. So that way you can imagine what happened here. Okay, let's see what code correction I have to make. Downloaded directory ampersand this, this, this. Okay, so now what is happening? The C drive downloads and with the new file name .csv, the exact file name appears through this. Now once you have this, where you would like to save the file? I would like to save the file in this one. So select the folder. So now your code is complete. Let's run and see if there are any bugs. Okay, so the code started running. Okay, it has downloaded the file. Okay, now let's see. Let's go to the downloads folder. So these are the previous files. So it should be 3 which should have been moved. So go to desktop and you see the third file, right, has been moved, and there is no previous problem like .csv, all that you had. Now it can do the job. Now I'm asking you additional question. If I use move file before rename, what are the challenges you would face? For example, before renaming, you're moving the file. After moving, you're renaming the file. What would happen in real-time case? So think through and let me know in the comment section.